Welcome to the Danny Clinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Insightful and witty commentary, probing interviews, and detours from the beaten path.
Welcome to the return of Danny and Stan's Football Weekend, presented by no-nonsense-healthcare-ninja.com. And certainly we thought maybe on this edition we'd be talking about another cruise by the rollicking Kansas City Chiefs. I actually put out a tweet right before the game asking if anybody was nervous about it and got precious little response that anyone was. Well, it turned out to be a white knuckler for the Chiefs, as the Chargers have proved to be the defense that can provide a little bit of kryptonite to Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs' offense. That has not, however, resulted in a lot of Chargers wins, and the Chiefs were able, with a little help from Anthony Lynn and a little help from Justin Herbert, to grab themselves a win on a couple of 58-yard field goals, including the winner by Harrison Butker in overtime. And the Chiefs get the victory and move to 2-0. And, of course, the big showdown comes with the Baltimore Ravens coming up next Monday. So we'll be moving this particular podcast to a Tuesday because we want to get the reaction to the Chiefs. But anyway, it's just about every week on Monday. It is this time around. We'll talk a little college football, too, with very challenging conference openers coming up for the locals. All that straight ahead on Danny and Stan's Football Weekend. It's presented for you by no-nonsense-healthcare-ninja.com, at DannyClinkscale.com, and the Reasonably Irreverent podcast. It's time now to get some great assistance on healthcare with Chad Beisel from no-nonsense-healthcare-ninja.com. And Chad, even your business's name would indicate that you have a real aggressive way and an important way to go after some health insurance for your clients.
What I've found out in the industry is just a lot of people are really confused. They don't know what plans are good, what their plans offer, how they cover. And so I've just taken the approach of being really educated on what options are available to clients and showing them all the options that are available and making sure they understand them so they can pick and choose what options are good for them.
And one thing that's really important, of course, is access to doctors and hospitals.
Absolutely. That's becoming a big issue for a lot of people. Some of the plans out there are going to restrict those clients to where they can and cannot go. So if you live just outside the Kansas City metro, some of the counties outside, you may not be able to go to some of the hospitals up here in the Kansas City area. So making sure that you have a plan that's got doctors and hospitals and places you want to go is really, really important today.
Learn more by visiting no-nonsense-healthcare-ninja.com and let Chad help you. Cinematic Visions has been an affordable solution for professional media production in Kansas City since 2003, offering award-winning video production and creation, as well as a wide array of digital and social media management services. From planning, scripting, filming, editing, and post-production, to delivering your product to a watching world, Cinematic Visions will provide professional and affordable services for you and your business with the necessary return on investment to make it all worthwhile. Cinematic Vision's goal is to unlock the power of storytelling through video and a strong online presence for your company. Beyond the numbers, they want to inspire and evoke your clients to feel and act. Let my friends at Cinematic Visions embed your brand where it belongs, in your customers' minds. You can find them online at cinematicvisions.com or with a quick phone call at 816-600-6300. I'm here with Tim Emerson, the owner of Emerson & Company. And Tim, give us an idea of the range of services that you provide from Emerson & Company.
At Emerson & Company, we do credit card processing, payroll services. We do bookkeeping, merchant accounts like point-of-sale systems.
What would you say differentiates you from other companies in the field, and what makes you special?
I think what makes us unique is that we're a small local business making regional decisions on companies. We create a profile for the business and then put it out to our different vendors in a very competitive environment and tailor those needs to the specific business, which usually ends up in a great fit or great result for the company.
And, of course, the idea is to save money, right?
Save money, and actually sometimes I'm surprised where actually a solution that may cost a little bit more ultimately does save money, but we're not conditioned to think like that sometimes.
Emerson & Company. Check them out at emerson-co.com or call them at 816-360-9092. Firsthand, I have enjoyed the benefits of the CBD products from Canaway. My back feels better and better these days, as a major part of my routine are the pain-relieving salve and the pure gold oil. And recently I had the pleasure of a treatment session using the Canaway CBD in conjunction with the Microlight 830 cold laser. The non-invasive treatment session worked wonders, and I could barely tell I was even being touched. TML 830 is the first 3B cold laser to get FDA approval, and in addition, the combination treatment with CBD is patent pending. The new smart laser is the only hands-free cold laser in the world and is used by athletic trainers, chiropractors, MDs, physical therapists, and veterinarians everywhere. You can learn more about all the great benefits from the complete line of Canaway CBD products by contacting my friend Sherry McCants at 515-208-6312. That's 515-208-6312 to get outstanding information about Canaway.
If you'd like to join these and other great sponsors and market your business to a growing and engaged audience, contact us at danny@dannyclinkscale.com. Look forward to hearing from you.
Well, Stan, we were talking before we recorded about yesterday's itinerary as far as sports viewers are concerned, and I told you I figured I'd be watching golf full-time by about 5:30, and you ended up having to watch the golf much later, although the results certainly played into going a lot quicker. But indeed, the Kansas City Chiefs had a ball game on their hands yesterday, and in many ways, the Chargers, I'm sure, felt like they let one get away. First of all, let's deal with the slow starts of the Chiefs. We're on a pretty good run now where the Chiefs let the other team take hold of the game a little bit, and they have to come back, and they've done so remarkably successfully in some cases where they just blow the game open anyway. It didn't happen yesterday. Is there anything intrinsic you think about Andy Reid, the way he prepares, or the Chiefs themselves are kind of a fun-loving electric bunch that would lend itself to them just kind of digging a little hole for themselves and then digging themselves out?
I think, Danny, that you would start with they truly are now the favorites. It's time for you to take the field, and you are the hunted. And so when you take the field, I think you're very confident in what you do. I think Andy Reid's creative. Steve Spagnuolo is a good defensive coordinator. But I still think that they are very willing, like some great boxers maybe back in the day. Anybody remembers when boxing was a big deal? I know you, Danny. You
Yes.
and I are old enough that it was. When our grandparents would talk to us about it, and you'd see great fighters just ease their way in and say, well, what are you going to attack me with today? And, what was your game plan? And I think the Chiefs are a little bit like that. No one goes in trying to be lackluster or anything like that. But I do think the Chiefs are there saying, okay, this is what your game plan is. And then Andy Reid's very good at adjusting, figuring things out. And I think on the other side, Steve Spagnuolo has been proven, once he got the Chiefs up and running, to be as exotic as any defensive coordinator in the NFL. He has the widest range of play calling. He doesn't come with just one or two philosophies. He's very willing to adjust, and I think that he tries to figure that out over time. I still think the Chiefs, it's hard to say a team that's as good as they are, the best in the NFL, has won all these games in a row. I think 11 straight wins, including the big playoff games in the Super Bowl. They're winners. They know how to win. They keep their composure. They got great athletes. If it's a kicker who blasts through, how about 4 straight field goals of basically 58 yards? I know one of them was 53, but he hit the 58-yarder to get him within 8. What a great kick that was, and then came back and hit 3 straight when they try to put him in different situations, penalties, timeouts, etc. So they've got players. They got winners, Danny. But I still think that they have a challenge. I don't want to call it a weakness, a challenge stopping the run. And I think that teams can get after them a little bit early and once in a while in the game say, we're going to run the ball. But no one in the NFL can stick with that. You win throwing it, and at some time you got to throw the football. And for the game yesterday in L.A., the Chargers got down to the goal line and could not run it in. I mean, they ran the ball for a 10-minute drive down the field, but when it gets crunch time, you start all over inside the 5, and then they needed to go to the passing game, and Herbert wasn't up to it at that point. They couldn't run it in, and they end up with a field goal. So I think stopping the run is something the Chiefs don't do with great vigor, and that allows teams to get after them a little bit early in the game.
And also it allows them to burn the clock. The first half of these Chiefs games is just flying by. But in the case of the Chargers, and if I don't call them the San Diego Chargers once in this podcast, I just tried to get it out of the way there. But they seem to have a little bit of kryptonite for Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. I think it's obvious to say that one of the elements clearly is the fact that they can pressure the Patrick Mahomes, and anybody under duress or who doesn't have time to wait for plays to develop is going to be compromised. Is that basically it?
It's the starting point, but I also always want to alert everyone that division foes challenge you harder than other games. It's true throughout the NFL. It's true throughout NFL history. These teams are not intimidated by you when they play you twice. And they spend all off season when you're talking about, okay, what do we need to do to get better? What do we need to do to emulate the team that won the Super Bowl? Those are big questions. And the other thing is, how do we beat the teams in our division, starting with the team that's at the top of our division? So I think the Chargers really are going to get after the Chiefs. It's a mindset. They think they can pressure the quarterback, and they've found a coverage system in place of what they're doing, keeping Tyreek Hill in front of them as much as possible. Letting Travis Kelce have a few catches and then try to squeeze him once in a while to keep things off balance, and then rush the quarterback and maybe make Patrick throw one ball away each possession or something, and that might be enough to get them to punt. So the Chargers have played with confidence against them. I don't know if it's any kryptonite or anything else, but I just, I do want to point out, when you're a division foe, it's a lot easier to just get in and grind. And really, that's the next step for the Raiders and the Broncos. Broncos' new coaching staff, Raiders trying to establish themselves as being a legitimate foe. Their next step is to be able to stand toe-to-toe with the Chiefs and go, we may be a fill-in-the-blank 7-9 team, 8-8, 6-10, but when it's a division game, we can play with you. And they really haven't done that yet. They haven't competed that well with the Chiefs, but the Chargers sure have done that.
Although they haven't beaten the Chiefs very many times. They've played them close, but they haven't beaten
one
them.
out of the last 11 or something like that.
So the wild card came at the start of the game. Nobody saw it coming. Tyrod Taylor had been dinged up in last week's game, and apparently either in the warm-up or he just was, they were sort of sandbagging during the course of the season. Out trots Justin Herbert, and I really enjoy Tony Romo as an analyst, but I think I don't know whether he was taken aback as well and completely expected Herbert to just crap his pants out there, but he was effusive in his praise of him. I thought overly. He made several rookie mistakes, one of which was a real killer, but he also did some good things. What did you think of him?
Well, if we would come with a different context and a different introduction, I would say he stood up pretty well. I mean, 22 of 33, 311 yards. He's a running threat. He kept his composure pretty well. Mm-hmm. I think we would be bragging him up and saying, not knowing he's going to be the starter, let's talk positively about him. But because of Romo's low bar, like, can you take a snap and hand off? And, boy, that really surprises me. A quarterback can do that. I mean, I love Tony Romo, as a player and as a broadcaster, but I was just shaking my head. I don't believe in Herbert. So I have a biased opinion. I start with I don't believe in him very much now, and I could come up with plenty of cases why that is true. His longest pass of the day was a dump off to a running back who was 7 yards behind the line of scrimmage when he caught it. I mean, that was not like great execution. He was just like getting rid of the ball so he didn't get sacked. He threw the ball 7 yards behind the line of scrimmage to a guy, and the Chiefs had just messed up the coverage so bad that Tyrann Mathieu and the defenders were running the other direction when he ran 35 yards. And it was a great throw down the middle that was big. There was a couple throws to the tight end.
There's one to the end zone.
But
the guy was
good.
wide open. I mean,
but early in the game when they needed to continue to move the ball, he missed easy out routes. The 3rd and 5, 7-yard out route. The guy's wide open.
Third downs. Yeah.
9 out of 10 college quarterbacks just stick it right on him. No big deal. He misses them. And Tony's saying, well, just other than those couple of overthrows that made him punt a couple times, then it was an awful mistake when he was running. And the easiest thing you can do when you're a young athletic quarterback is when you see a first down, you go get it like you're Alex Smith. Or maybe Patrick Mahomes. But Mahomes ran for first downs all over the place. But when he was near midfield, remember that drive started way backed up. The Chargers looked like they were in trouble. Chiefs were gaining momentum. When they grinded it out to near midfield, and then he's on the move for a first down
and
run.
Then he stopped. I mean, he stops shy of the line of scrimmage.
And then, I'm talking about the one he throws the interception.
Right,
late.
That's what I mean. I mean, he was 2 yards away from the first down, and he stopped.
I know, and he's got a 10-yard run, keep the clock moving. I was going, oh, that's a big play, right? Then he throws it deep. Now, if it would have been a touchdown, maybe we'd say it was a bigger play. But throwing across your body late, you just can't do that when you have the first down. So I thought that was a mistake when they got into at the 3-yard line. The zone read, I thought he should have kept on maybe the first one and ran around the end. He didn't. They go right up the middle. They even talked about in the postgame that he didn't have a lot of reps in goal line situations. So he didn't look very comfortable running the offense
the third
down
play,
there.
He turned the wrong way for the
So
play fake.
I just think there's all kinds of places in there where the sack he took for a minus 15 was a real killer. I think it was a first down
Although
sack.
they overcame it.
But
Still, it's bad play.
It's hey, I would say this. Sometimes it's easier to perform when you don't get nervous. So I'm going to, I could even spin this thing, but how can you? That's so unfair. It's unfair to go, you didn't know you were going to start and you played
Right.
well. I think you play a little more free and easy when you're the underdog and you don't know you're going to play. But overall, he outperformed what I thought he would do as a Chargers quarterback. There's no doubt about that.
But you kind of would consider it fool's gold for the Chargers to be excited now that they picked this guy sixth and he looked good.
So far for me, I go in with that draft analysis, if you want to call that. I'm a little bit more thumbs up after watching him play in the game on Sunday against the Chiefs. So I'm opening my mind up a little bit more. But generally, no, I think Drew Lock's a bigger factor in Denver than he's going to be with the Chargers down the road as being a threat of the Chiefs 3 years from now.
And, of course, Drew Lock got hurt yesterday, out maybe 2 to 6 weeks, might not play against the Chiefs when they come to Arrowhead, which would be a shame for him. All right, let's talk about when the game got to nut-crunching time, and the Chiefs execute well enough, but the Chargers do their really, by the standards of going against the Chiefs, holding them to the field goal at the end, getting to go to overtime. But then this is the modern NFL. A field goal when you have had the ball first for the other team is going to win. Anthony Lynn has to go for it on fourth. And I know it's the 29. I know you're basically going to give an automatic field goal. But what are your odds, really, of stopping the Chiefs if you kick the ball to them? In the end, they did a pretty darn good job. They stopped him at the 40. I mean, against the Chiefs, that's good business. Is it just that especially defensive coaches, guys who've been in the league for a while, they can't wrap their arms around the fact that it's too hard to stop these teams from just getting a few yards? And the other aspect they don't seem to understand is that 58-yard field goals are no big deal for these guys anymore. Okay, kudos to the kicker, but if they kick the ball straight, the length of the kick is no issue.
Never in question.
Right.
I miss those days where you go, is it short?
Yeah.
It's down the middle, but is it short?
Right.
Because, the broadcasters who are on the side, when we're watching it from the side, Danny, the one thing we can tell is if it's short. So it's like a 50-50. Well, we can't tell if it's going through the middle without looking at the TV screen or something. So you got to decide. You're going to watch the TV screen down the middle, or you're going to watch the length. Well, usually a broadcaster can't take his eyes off the game. Okay?
Right.
So, boom, it's down the middle. The TV people know, but at least still the broadcasters should be able to say, I think it's going to be short. But now it's not even a question. You're right.
As
soon as I see the ball,
league who is going to be short from 52, 54
no.
yards.
We just look at the distance and the curvature, more like a golf shot. Is that thing going to stay on the line? Is it going to curve a little bit?
Now, certainly, I know people that from that distance, there's more time for it to stray to the right, stray to the left. But if they kick the ball purely, the distance isn't an issue. And I don't think coaches are taking this into effect either.
No, it's still a little of an old mindset. Going for fourth down, definitely the odds have swung. Tony Romo on the broadcast saying, I think you got to go for it. You're playing the Chiefs, and that's a new standard. There's modern football, okay, which is getting more and more like arena football. We've been calling this, for 2 or 3 years, Danny?
Yep.
We've been talking about it. It's turned into that. He could say, do I want to put the whole game on the line on one play with a young quarterback? When I got a defense that's held this game intact the way it has, maybe the ball will bounce our way, those kind of things. Or he could say, what happens if I move the ball and I get a fourth down conversion and I end up kicking a field goal? Then all that means is that Mahomes still gets the ball to go back and score a touchdown against me. So I still got to deal with the Chiefs' issue one way or the other. So I can give them. Anthony Lynn, in this case, has the right to make the decision. I think it's more 50-50.
Right. The other part maybe is the fact that he is a defensive coach. This team is built on defense. If they go for it, don't get it, and the defense really now has no chance to stop the other team, there might be, why didn't he show faith in us?
Yeah, the locker room stuff does matter on a 16-game marathon season. So you maybe want to go down with all your guys contributing, and boy, his guys did come through, because I cannot think of anything more embarrassing that I saw in the game than the new multi-million-dollar difference-making defensive end, Bosa, standing on the sideline as the Chiefs are going down the field. What the heck? Come on, Danny. What the heck? Well, how can these guys say they're tired? I mean, that is unacceptable to me.
Well, also, during the course of the game, they did give those guys some rotation. It wasn't like Bosa was playing every snap.
But did you see him standing over there for like 4 straight plays?
4 snaps in a row. And from on the broadcast,
How does that happen?
They weren't getting on him. They were just saying, "Oh, he's left it all out there." And I'm like, I remember in the second quarter, Ingram and him not playing in a pass rushing situation at the same. So I think there was enough rotation where there shouldn't have been an excuse. And COVID shouldn't be an excuse. You should have been working out on your own. He certainly looks like he's in fine shape. I mean,
if you're just like another defensive lineman, why do they pay you 20 times more? I mean, I just do not get it. Michael Jordan and LeBron James was really tired the other night for the Lakers, so he sat out the last minute, but he was available for the last 25 seconds if they needed him. What? You don't see LeBron do that.
Right.
I'm just getting too old. I mean, I'm sitting there going, really? You don't want a part of this? I mean,
and he finally came back, but you're right. He missed 4
I don't care if you
consecutive
throw up.
key plays.
I remember Drew Pearson used to throw up on the field, an old wide receiver who's now up for Hall of Fame consideration, an old Dallas Cowboy. He would run down the field and be exhausted and throw up and run back to the huddle and run the next play. I didn't. That was the weirdest thing. That was the weirdest thing of the whole game for me. Bucker knocking through 58-yarders time after time after time after time was less notable to me than their superstar player standing over on the sideline. But, it was an interesting day. NFL's so good. Even when you're the best team in football, you have competitive games. You usually lose 2 games or so. The 14-2 teams historically are dominant, but they still lose twice. 13-3s, 12s and 4s. That's what makes it so fun. This is not college where you go, snore Clemson won again by pick your score.
I'll plead guilty to thinking that the Chiefs were going to get into that mode. And now what they're going to be looking at, and we can get into but I want to touch on a couple more things before we talk about the Ravens game, which should be a great one. The key, you actually won this game when you very well could have lost it, which creates a situation where you very well could lose to the Ravens. I mean, there's no question about that. They look very, very good. And then the defending champs are 1-2. The sky is falling.
That's
but they got this one.
What was so cool about it is that the risk in the NFL was legit because who would say it's not embarrassing to go to the Ravens and lose. It could be a war. Seahawks, Patriots, what a war. The Patriots come up a yard short. As a neutral fan, you don't write off the Patriots. You just go, well, okay, they lost. Here we go. But the Chiefs could have been 1-2 if they would have dumped the game against the Chargers. But they found a way to win. They're down by double digits. The plays that they make are off the charts. The 54-yard pass to drop the ball into Tyreek Hill when Patrick's on the move. The coverage was really good coverage for Tyreek Hill.
That's a one in a Mahomes play. I mean, he's
and
about
Hill.
it.
And Hill to go snag the ball out of the air.
Right.
And it's just amazing. And then the 2-point conversion play, that's like going bowling and then him throwing a strike on the third lane over. Like, what, Patrick, we're in this lane right here. Well, I thought I would just go ahead and throw some English on it. And how did he slip that through there? And McCole Hardman made a great catch too, but there was nothing there, Danny. You don't go roll out to the right and throw back to the left like that through people at a sharp angle. And if he doesn't get those 2 points, I really think the psychology of the game, we should never write off the Chiefs, but I think the Chargers were okay. They did some things, and if the Chiefs would have either missed the field goal to pull within 8, if they would have missed the 2-point conversion, it would have been a big factor. In fact, when Tyreek Hill took off his helmet, I know that's a penalty. I just go, oh my gosh, the Chiefs are going to have to go from the 17-yard line.
And they're going to kick.
They're going to kick. They're down by 1 still. Get out of jail free card for the Chargers. But the penalty doesn't get called. Then he makes an unbelievable 2-point conversion play. So, wow. One of the biggest untold plays of the day was right before the 58-yard field goal. Down by 11, the Chargers just say, we'll give you 10 yards. And the Chiefs dump the ball off and go, I don't know how long that play was, about 10 yards or so, but every one of those yards, just enough for – I don't think the Chargers were ever thinking, or the announcers thinking, that the field goal team was coming out. I don't know how many Chiefs fans, I didn't think about it.
Right.
I go, okay, wow, they're going to punt and have an 11-point lead in the football. and here comes Harrison Butker out. If they wouldn't have got that little completion, they would have had to punt.
Right. And the other issue, you touched on it, I do think that if the Chiefs are guilty of, if Andy Reid is guilty of one thing, it's just running a slightly loose ship. And I think that maybe he feels like in the grand scheme of things, like we talked about the locker room situation, that helps, that he has his guys back. Reid bristled today at Seren Petro asking a question and chastised him for asking about the Tyreek play yesterday, which you never hear Andy Reid do. So there was some sensitivity there, maybe for hot Tyreek Hill, but Tyreek Hill can't do that. Now, some people say, well, his helmet was loose and whatever. You pull it back down. You don't take it off. I mean, and he clearly
he was about 30 yards across the end zone. That's a penalty.
And he was showboating a little bit. I don't know how you missed that. First of all, I don't know how you missed that penalty, but just those little things of discipline, that doesn't seem to be top of the list for Andy Reid.
It's I wish I knew the inner workings, because he does a great job of hiding who he really is to us, and that's a compliment. I mean,
right.
Nothing better than getting through your media sessions and not having the fans hate you. And that's all you want to do as a head coach, check it off. I mean, Belichick, people don't like him.
Right.
So he doesn't check that box. He gets through the media and gets back to football, but everyone's like, come on, coach. Really? Do you have to be that snarly? That broadcaster was not asking you a crazy question. But Andy Reid's done a great job where everyone just goes, yeah, I'd love to have it. Let's play some audio from Andy Reid on the radio tomorrow. Boom, got it. No one's saying anything. So he does a great job of keeping you off the path. I mean, he's talking about his left hand when he cares about his right hand.
Right.
He does it fabulously. So, I've never met Andy Reid, so I have no idea, not even looking at him 3 feet away, or nowadays 6 feet 1 inch away, and looking into his eyes and seeing what I'd love to talk some football with him, just give him just 5 or 10 minutes to kind of get a feel. But there's definitely a different guy, the hot rod competitiveness that people that I know him well, all those things that he carries, he has it. But from our perspective, again, I think our perspective is wrong as we talk about this. We're missing so much that it's hard to. But it does look like he feels comfortable with the modern player, giving him a little bit of rope, including mistakes on the field, and believes that probably his leadership will make sure one mistake does not lead to the other. The Chiefs might make a mistake. I follow the Dallas Cowboys next closely. They have no stoppage. They go to mistake 2, 3, 4, and 5, and no one at some point, the Patrick Mahomes, the Tyrann Matthews of the world will step in and say, this ain't happening anymore. So I think he's going to say, I'll err on the side of giving him room, and we'll find a way to win, and hopefully they'll learn from that. But it does look a little loose to me. I mean, I'm still a little bit more used to the old school.
And they get a lot of penalties too.
Yeah, but he doesn't ever seem to be too concerned about it. And when players don't play that well, he just says, I thought he played fine today, and everybody's got stuff to work on. But one of the things that would blow, first of all, general comment about the NFL, because this is our first time together for this 2020 football season, Danny. The quality of play in the NFL is off the charts good. I can't believe it. Those guys deserve a ton of credit. Without the fans in the stands, the lack of emotion, being able to hear things like it's practice, everything a coach yells out from the opponent, you hear. I mean, all those things, and to play the way they are, no preseason games. I'm less surprised about that because they've blown off the preseason the last couple of years. But they are playing at a very high level. Given that, the only little quirky thing that I am unhappy with the NFL players is how often the biggest name players do the stupidest things, which is usually 3rd and less than 5 and jump off sides. I mean, I see it all over the NFL. Like, you're the star player on the team and you're in the neutral zone. I mean, how can you do that? That's part of being a star player. One, Mr. Bosa, is show up and play. Number 2 is don't be jumping in a neutral zone, because the interception down the middle by Patrick Mahomes, he would have never thrown that.
No,
don't count that as a Chargers missed opportunity. He just threw the ball up for grabs. They're looking for big plays.
Yeah, he's very good, and he'll probably get caught one time, but he pretty much always notes when there's a penalty, and he's not going to waste that chance. I mean, he is not going to say, "Ooh, well, maybe they didn't call it on him. Maybe it was maybe it was our guy." He's just going to wing it.
Yeah, I think he sees the flag. I literally think.
I know he sees the flag.
He sees it flying up in the air, and he goes, "We're going deep."
There's still a little bit of chance that it's not them.
Yeah, exactly.
I think
could be an illegal formation.
Yeah, so one time maybe he'll get snagged on that, but the being aggressive is certainly the right thing to do.
Aaron Rodgers does the same thing. Their awareness is off the charts. They can tell when someone moves in their peripheral vision. Plus they know what they're doing with their voice. But to see guys, it's across the NFL. Bosa did it really poorly a couple of times. Mm-hmm.
Ingram did.
These are your two best. These are the guys, and they cost you on critical downs. And most of the NFL coaches are just like, yeah, whatever.
Right.
Whatever. So, Andy's in that same mindset. Danny, it's a different group of players. And these coaches who have old school mentalities and can make it play out with modern techniques is really one of the most incredible things that I don't know. I know a lot of people who could not do that.
Right.
And I think Andy Reid's dead old school. I think you'll agree with me on that.
I think behind the scenes there's more of that, but he has adapted
so well
to the modern player. Let's talk about next Monday night. We'll be doing this podcast on Tuesday next week because we want to talk about what might be one of the games of the season. Baltimore couldn't have looked any better so far this year. They've played great in both of their games. The Chiefs go in there. Maybe there was a little look-ahead factor. I don't think so. It's Chargers division rival there, but it should be a heck of a football game. These teams play differently, and this is another danger game for the Chiefs in the standpoint of if you allow the same tempo of game to be played again, the Ravens are better at it. They ran for over 200 yards yesterday. I mean, if they get you down 10, you might not see the ball but 3 more times the rest of the game or something like that. So it should be a really interesting game, and the Chiefs would be well served to get off to a better start than they have been.
Yeah, because how do you bury the Ravens and their running game is get them behind. That's been the only formula that worked. The Tennessee Titans did in the playoffs. Otherwise, their run of winning regular season games is on a long, long run. They've been ahead by double digits most of the fourth quarters during that run. So the Ravens have played their style and dictated the game. And if they do that, they are very dangerous to the Chiefs. Now, I think the Chiefs' adrenaline flow will be at a whole different level. This is a preview of what will never be the Super Bowl in the current configurement of the NFL, but these are the two best teams going at it. And Sunday night's the feature game in America, but they'll make it a big deal on Monday night in ESPN. Really just a lot to see as a fan. Not a lot to lose. I can see the Chiefs losing a game and still end up having the best record, but we can make the case that tiebreakers matter. We can make a case that these are the two teams fighting for only one bye. There's not 2 byes in the playoffs anymore, one more playoff team, 7 in each conference. I'll buy into all that hype, man. There's just no reason to not hype this game up from anything you want to bring about the importance of the game and setting the tone. And there's none of this, when two teams play twice in a year, the team that wins first always seems to lose the second time. That may happen in college or something, but not in the pros. Most of the time, the one who wins the first game, for some reason, ends up winning the playoff game, the way I think back to the NFL history. So, big game. I think the Ravens, what changed the Ravens last year and what kept them from being a Super Bowl team, and obviously it was one game they got behind. The Titans played well, all those things. But I thought the biggest difference is when Mark Ingram got hurt. He was slowed the last 2 or 3 weeks of the season. And for everything Lamar Jackson does, he deserves a ton of credit. But when he hands the ball off to Ingram, that guy, Heisman Trophy winner, was ripping off 7 or 10 yards. And that just even makes it harder because no one throws to the tight end more than Lamar Jackson. No one throws more touchdown passes to the tight end than Lamar Jackson. So that's that easy connection for quarterbacks, especially in a fake-the-run, play-action mode. They've got that. They got the big hitters with Hollywood Brown going deep. They got Texas's best receiver from last year as a rookie draft choice who's just didn't drop one ball last year, Danny, for Texas. Not one ball the whole year. So they've got weapons. But I think Ingram is the weapon that they need. Once he gets slowed, you say, let him beat us. And right now he's fresh, start of the season. So I think you're going to get a really good version of the Ravens. They played awesome the first 2 weeks. And, it's going to be fun because how can you ever predict that Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs aren't going to find a way to win? But this is the team. The Ravens, it's a new year. We're not last year. We're this year. The Ravens are at home. Oh, wait a second. There's no home field advantage. But I'm very excited for the game. But overall, I cannot believe we've gone through 2 weeks of the NFL, and it's felt more normal than anything that's happened in 2020. When you get midway through 2:45 in the afternoon or 3:10, let's say 3:10 in the afternoon when some games are finishing, Danny, and others are kicking off, I'm sitting there going, this seems like Sunday of every year. These guys are playing so hard and so well.
Let's talk a little college football coming up next. We'll give you some quick previews of some daunting tasks for our local teams as they open conference play, to say the least. We'll do that next on Danny and Stan's Football Weekend, it's presented by NoNonsenseHealthcareNinja.com.
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this.
Most of us have experienced auto accidents, and it's no fun. And even less fun is trying to work on the insurance aspects afterwards and getting full value after an auto accident. I'm here with David Cowan from RecExpert.com. And David, you have an unusual and important niche for people after an auto accident.
We have a passion to teach car wreck clients what they deserve. Getting your car repaired only fixes the damage and the paint. Getting paid for your car's loss in value is called diminished value. Chances are you've never heard of this before because most people aren't looking out for you. We help people collect thousands to tens of thousands of dollars for their car's loss in value after the wreck.
And if somebody wants to come to you for that, what's the original assessment cost them?
We offer a free review of any insurance claim to see how we can help.
You can't beat that. Great expertise and assistance in getting full value after an auto accident from David Cowan. Visit RecExpert.com and learn more.
Hi, everybody. This is Matt Llewellyn from 23rd Street Brewery in Lawrence. I just want to thank everybody for supporting local restaurants during this time of uncertainty. 23rd Street Brewery is now open until this pandemic is over. And right now, more than anything, local restaurants need your help and support. Come on out and see us. 23rd Street Brewery is open now from 11:30 till 9 o'clock for dine-in and carry-out. Whatever we can do to help you out, maybe with your catering needs, too. I appreciate all the support, and thank you for continuing to shop local.
We're here with Joe Spiker, the CEO and president of Easton Roofing. And Joe, you had a great year in 2019, a record year. 2020 comes, things are moving smoothly along, and then the coronavirus comes. But your company seemed to be very ready, very proactive, and very ready to serve your customers well.
Yeah, we adopted social distancing very early before the cities even put out the notices. And we started working from home. We are largely cloud-based as a company, so that transition was easy. Our technicians are wearing masks and gloves, and salespeople are not meeting with homeowners. We're doing everything digitally and doing everything we can to do our part to get over this as quickly as possible.
So for any needs that people have right now, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Well, you can always call us, 913-257-5426. But the best way is to go to eastonroofing.com, put your information in, and we'll give you a call.
Easton Roofing. Integrity matters. Let's spend a minute with Dr. Brad Woodle, who along with his wife, Dr. Christina Woodle, the owners of Advanced Sports and Family Chiropractic and Acupuncture, my home for chiropractic care. And first of all, just tell us about the wide range of services you offer.
Danny, we offer comprehensive chiropractic, acupuncture, physiotherapy, and rehab. We do a very thorough examination, x-rays on site as necessary, and we have a full rehabilitation department, so we can help out with exercises, stretches, different therapies for the complex, but also the very simple conditions we treat.
You have been deemed essential and have remained open all through this COVID-19 process. What are some of the things you've done to make sure that was the case?
From the very beginning, in March, we started to make sure that we were cleaning and sanitizing with EPA-registered sanitizing products. We also implemented masks way before the state required them. We implemented a parking lot waiting room, took out half of the chairs in our waiting room, and made sure to space out visits so we could appropriately meet, discuss, and also screen patients to make sure we were taking care of healthy people.
Find out more about Advanced Sports and Family Chiropractic and Acupuncture and how they can help you at ASFCA.com. If you'd like to join these and other great sponsors and market your business to a growing and engaged audience, contact us at Danny@DannyKlinkScale.com. Look forward to hearing from you. Conference play begins. SEC starts up. Of course, they're only playing conference games. And you might make a case that Kansas and Kansas State are just starting up, too, because they kind of no-showed their first games. But they can get a fresh start in these games. But the schedule maker does none of our local teams a favor. Let's start with the Missouri Tigers. And they add 2 conference games to their schedule. And what do they get? LSU and Alabama. Now, the Alabama game at least is at home. It creates some fun. It creates some excitement. But Alabama... Missouri gave them a decent game a few years ago in the title game, and were competitive for a while, or in a regular season game. For for your first game out of the box, I mean, this is tough duty, but I know you maybe think that this might be the best chance for Missouri to catch Alabama.
Well, let's start on one side of the equation. Catching someone early in college football with no preseason is the best time to catch them. But you just hope, we finished talking about the NFL a little bit ago. Hopefully they're not like the Ravens and just saying, we're better than everybody, watch out. But if you're Eli Drinkwitz and you're talking about starting out a new tenure at the University of Missouri, about the last thing you would want is to say, we're playing who in the first game? Who? Yeah, Alabama is your first game as a coach with the Missouri Tigers. Congratulations. Have fun. You really want your players to be confident in what you're doing. They didn't have much spring ball. I think Missouri got 3 practices in. Fall practice has been a little weird. So you got Eli Drinkwitz, brand new coach, trying to sell his team. And Danny, I point this out a lot. The hardest people to sell are the players, more than the fans. The fans are in it for the long term. 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years, we got our right guy. Let's go. And they give him some rope, it's called, and some appreciation. The players, they're like, I got 1 year of eligibility left. I got 2 years left. This stuff better work. Well, if it gets blown up by Alabama, everything he says, we're going to do this, and when that guy moves here, then we're going to throw the ball right behind him, and none of it works because the athleticism is so great, you could hurt your team's starting confidence. So I think that's the risk, the only risk here. Otherwise, is it well to play him the first game? Maybe, but it's still a tough game. Missouri will go right into the theme of college football for our local teams. Big upsets if they find a way to win. Just giant hurdles. 28, 4-touchdown point favorite is Alabama. Home or road, they have been so dominant, so consistent, so athletic. So how do you make a case that they're going to win? It's hard. What is success? I don't even know what it is. I think I'll know it if I see it. When you see them play, if there's a spark here or there, you might go, that was really good. Because K-State's a 4-touchdown deficit also when you look at the odds with Oklahoma. And last year, K-State was behind the whole first half, Danny. Just going back to my broadcast, K-State was behind, I think, 10-0 right away, and then was behind 17-7, and almost the whole first half they were behind till right at the very end. But when they were down 10-0, I was saying to Wyatt, I am very satisfied. I think K-State's played so good.
I remember you saying that. I was
listening. Playing so well, and they're down 10-0. So see what I'm saying?
Right.
That's the game. Obviously, K-State scored 40 straight points, had a big lead, and actually beat Oklahoma. But the key thing is, what was I seeing in the first quarter when they were behind 10-0? It looked like they had no chance. So I do believe I'll know what success looks like. But until we watch these teams play, it's hard to make a big case. I mean, Kansas, if we look at the third school, they're playing a team that has a brand new coach, probably a whole different style, and have had so many starts and stops and haven't played a game yet. I think Kansas has the best chance to go surprise Baylor because no one at Baylor's football team is even thinking about KU. I mean, do you think Nick Saban's team's going to respect Missouri? Do you think he's going to allow them to just walk in there and go, I don't even know what their mascot is? No, Alabama is going to be ready to play. Oklahoma got beat by K-State last year.
Right.
They're not going to go to sleep. The one team that might be asleep on this whole thing is Baylor.
Yeah, because there are some guys on the team from even a couple of years ago when a winless Baylor team went to Kansas. Their hopes were high for Kansas to, hey, this is the game we can win, and Baylor just killed them. I mean, it wasn't even a game,
yeah.
And that was the only game they won all year.
And these guys, they've won. These kids, almost all of them have been less than 10 years old the last time KU beat Baylor. I mean, they're not worried about it, but they're in a first game mode, getting ready for their fourth different starting opponent. My point is that Kansas could sneak up on Baylor a little bit more easily, to me, and make it a competitive game than the other two. Now, I would much rather have Missouri's lineup and enthusiasm under a new coach to get ready. Will Sean Robinson be the quarterback? Will he do well? A lot of some good defensive players from Mizzou. And K-State obviously is not intimidated by Oklahoma. They won against him last year. Skylar Thompson hopefully will be 100%. Remember, he got injured early in the game, and it did affect him. So, with a week off, maybe he'll be better. But each of those games, the whole thing is unlikely to cause havoc this week is what the three teams would define themselves into.
I guess in this landscape of college football, what teams can do is look around and see that, Oklahoma State they had all they wanted with Tulsa. They didn't even score until the fourth quarter. Might have been the most surprising score line. Maybe not just the fact that it was a tight game or whatever. That was supposed to be a high-scoring game, and Oklahoma State was shut out for three quarters. So there have been some odd results, and I think we're going to see some odd results, and maybe they can just kind of look at that and hang their hat on it a little bit.
Yeah, what you need to do is find something that gives you hope. There's no reason with 20-year-old kids that they can't accomplish anything, but it's the hardest thing for the coaches to make them not look over when they're warming up and you're Missouri and go, that's Alabama over there. They weren't even on our schedule when the year started. Did you see how big that dude is?
Right.
You know, and so K-State, Oklahoma looks like they're going to score a touchdown on every pass play. I mean, they, for 2 years in a row, have set a new NCAA record of yards per play. They last year were over 9 yards per play on average.
Unbelievable.
I mean, they make Patrick Mahomes' stats are even a little bit more reasonable than that. So for them to be able, with a new quarterback, Rattler, he hardly threw the ball, but it was like a post pattern here, a deep throw there, easy touchdown passes. It's so easy for them to score. And K-State's secondary is decimated with a lot of things going on that we saw. So, but if you can find any reason to find hope, there's no reason why you can't compete. COVID is a factor that changes the lineup for kind of a quirky reason. Like, what do you mean that those 5 players aren't playing?
Right.
But I think the biggest factor with these college kids, Danny, is the distraction. That I think it's really hard for them to focus in on football. And Oklahoma State, they have a ESPN show that they're doing.
Right.
Remember Miles Ahead for Kansas?
Yep.
OSU is doing a show like that this year. And they showed Oklahoma State, the 6th version of that show I watched. Oklahoma State was shown on their off week, because they got moved back a week, watching other teams play. And they were TVs everywhere, as you can imagine. And they were watching Iowa State get upset by Louisiana. And then they watched K-State get upset by Arkansas State. And then they went and practiced. And, the coaches out there going, guys, this can happen to you.
Right.
Well, they had fair warning.
Right.
They had. It wasn't like on the same day a Sun Belt team came in and caught them off guard. Danny, they had geared up for a week. Like, we're not going to let this happen. And Tulsa still.
Right.
If Tulsa wouldn't have had a couple of bad penalties / bad calls against them, they legitimately could have won the game. Crazy as it seems. They were dancing in the end zone with a lead when they got called for a penalty for illegal formation or something that took it off the board. So here OSU was all geared up to not let that happen to them, and it almost did. So I do think it's a different year, that everyone is more upsettable than they've probably ever been in their history.
Great analysis from Stan Weber, as usual, and, of course, we'll do that on Saturday mornings, too. You can catch Stan sort of reviewing most of the time things on this particular podcast, and then, of course, we'll preview things on Saturday morning, often with Stan at the game site, as he will be on Saturday. And you can hear that on Sports Radio 810 WHB, and you can hear this right here at DannyKlinkscale.com and the Reasonably Irreverent podcast on this particular entity, presented by NoNonsenseHealthcareNinja.com. It's the Reasonably Irreverent podcast and Danny and Stan's Football Weekend.
We hope you enjoyed the latest Danny Klinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Come back soon for something fresh and new. This podcast was made possible by our great sponsors like
NoNonsenseHealthcareNinja.com, specializing in expert healthcare guidance and assistance for you.